Welcome to Midnight Menu Plus One. I'm Ray Canada.
And I'm Margo Moss.
Here at Midnight Menu Plus One, we meet each week with a member of the New Orleans restaurant and food community. We ask them to bring along a special guest, a plus one. We never know who the plus one's going to be. Could be just about anyone, and we'll find out in just a moment. But before we do that, we need to talk about the new developments in Midnight Menu Plus One. Pretty exciting, Margo?
Yes.
Every Monday night, 7:30 to 9 p.m. is High Night, Hospitality Industry Night at Thrive. We're here at Grill on the Hill now on Magazine Street next to Monkey Hill Bar, just right by Henry Clay. Come on down next Monday for High Night at Thrive. Grab a drink from Monkey Hill and get half off of healthier food from Thrive. Very excited about this new development. And we have other things going on too, don't we, Margo?
Yes, tonight we're going to be giving away 2 tickets to a special event.
So the Pussyfooters are having their Blush Ball, right? Party with a Purpose. This Saturday, January 18th at the Cannery. It helps raise money for the Metro Center for Women and Children. They try to break the cycle of domestic violence, and we'll tell you later on the show how you can get free tickets to participate with them in this.
Excellent.
Well, Margo, yeah.
Excellent.
I'm excited about it. All right, Margo, I don't want to wait any longer. We have Aaron Vogel on. I'm so excited. I've been excited since we scheduled him. District Donuts, welcome.
Well, thank you.
Good to have you here.
Yeah, appreciate y'all having me.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, so tell us about District Donuts and Sliders. What a great concept. That you're the only donut and slider place in New Orleans, in the Southeast, in America?
I don't know.
The Western Hemisphere?
Yeah, maybe so. South of the Mason-Dixon line? I don't know. We just started out saying, let's allow our establishment to dictate what concept we'd bring to the table. And so we were just acutely looking for space, and we found Magazine in Jackson. And one of the concepts that we had, we said, man, what would add a great amount of value to the neighborhood? What's not here presently? What would really entice people to, want to work here, want to live here, want to visit here, and craft donuts was one of them.
All right.
And coffee, of course, goes extremely well with donuts. We wanted to do specialty donuts that we made from scratch all day through the day, not just once off and fry them and run out, but rather, roughly every hour, consistently making small batches and certain amount of dozens, depending on par levels for the day.
Really?
Yeah.
So what's the oldest donut I'm going to get if I hit you at the worst possible moment?
Yeah,
how old
well,
can your
at the end of the
be?
night, we're okay with running out of some donuts,
right?
And so
6 hours, 5 hours.
No, never. We're happy with it around an hour.
Really?
Yeah. If we're unhappy if it's a couple hours for sure.
So you're telling me I can be confident if I go in there that if I get a donut, it's not going to be more than an hour to 2 hours old. You think?
Yeah.
Wow.
What we do, we keep all the older stuff in the case, looking pretty. We never have to touch it, so it doesn't get messed up. And all the stuff in the back on the speed rack will consistently come out from the bakery. We have people working from 4 a.m. until about midnight in the bakery all day, every day. So it's nonstop. They're constantly prepping and frying off more donuts and making them fresh from scratch.
Now the bakery's in the facility there?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
It's in the very back. So the front is our coffee area, of course, and the cashier, and then the middle is where we do sliders, and then the back side is where all the magic happens. And so we, all the creams, glazes, fillings, sprinkles, dough, everything we make from scratch back there throughout the day.
When you say we, I would like to know a little bit about your background. So who besides you was involved with the concept and opening of the business?
Chris Adler is one of the 3 partners. He and I worked together previously, and we just spent, really, it was about 2.5 years together, just talking through, man, what if? And just
what'd you do previously together?
Yeah, I was prior to this at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company.
Okay.
We worked with the corporate office over there for several years together. Prior to that, Houston's Restaurant, we both worked there for a few years, and intermittently I was also a pastor at a local church for several years, out of the restaurant industry into pastoral, and then back into restaurant. So anyway, we just super patient through the whole process and said, man, we love our jobs, we love what we do, very content, very happy with a growing company, so learning a ton the whole time. And really a great opportunity for us. And so we just said, let's be patient and let's talk about a bunch of options. And so that's where we just kind of gathered a few concepts and said, again, let's just let the space dictate to us which of these really, really fits the best inside of it. So that process, we have no expertise in donuts. Our background is really in food. And so sliders for us was just very, very easy and is part of what we do. And keeping a restaurant clean and moving and going is interacting with guests. That's just for us is what we've been doing since we were out of high school. We were super fortunate to stumble upon Liz Hollinger, who is our pastry chef. And Liz was working in Lakeview at a cafe. And since that cafe is closed, Gingerbread Cafe on Harrison Avenue.
Oh, okay.
And really, the way it happened, Chris and I were sitting in the restaurant or in the cafe talking about potential concepts and saw Liz just strolling around and interacting with guests and just blew me away. And I said, man, that right there, someone who's got a profession, really knows what she's doing, because it was very impressive, her set and what she was making, but then who also really seemed to love what she was doing and interacting with guests. I mean, putting her arms around people and saying hi, and just a great connection. You saw what was in her was definitely what we wanted to be about in our space. And so we just approached her and said, hey, would you be interested in helping us do some R&D? We were not trying to recruit her. We didn't know that eventually that cafe would shut down. And just super generous, she said, yeah, I'd love to. And so we started going to her house. We spent months with her on her downtime and on our downtime. And we went through about 30 base donuts. We didn't glaze or sugar anything until we got through about our 30th. And we finally said, that's the donut right there. So if it hadn't been for her, I don't know where we'd be. We might be District Sliders Brew right now. But fortunately, we met her, and she's just been a huge asset. Through the process, of course, it was abundantly clear, it seemed to both parties, that this would have been a great working relationship. And so we said, hey, would you like to come on board and be a part of the team full time? And she, of course, said yeah. So.
And you found a great spot. I mean, to me, I live on Magazine Street. I'm also on Magazine Street. I'm a fanatic for it. And of all the places on Magazine Street, that's one of my favorite spots. That may be my favorite block in a way.
Yeah.
Truck stop that used to be there before you. I used to shop there about once a week. I love that. It was my favorite place to shop for clothes and browse in. But also the flag shop on the end there. And Stein's in between you is, probably the best New York-style deli. Most authentic one in New Orleans. And yeah, it's just great to be on that block right there and just right at the cusp of all the other stuff that comes right after Jackson.
Right.
So were you looking for like Lower Garden District or Magazine Street or whatever?
Yeah, we weren't. We saw a sign, and we were constantly looking for signs, and physical signs, that is, in all parts of the city. And we found that one. And when we saw the inside, it was just kind of one of those, you met your wife right there, and this is right. And so that's her over there to my right. So it's right. And so we just saw it wasn't just potential, as that's the brick walls, what it was truck stop before, the floors, cement floors, just screamed, wow, this is New Orleans. This just feels like you could come in here and create something great. And obviously ambiance and atmosphere is a huge part of dining, and we thought that it had it. It's very raw state when we found it. And
it was vacant when you got it, because the truck stop moved out because the landlord was doing all that work on it, was having some structural issues or whatever, and that all got fixed up.
Yeah, lots of issues, or I shouldn't say issues, lots of touch-ups, I guess, from what I gather in the front. They just really put it back together nicely.
And how'd y'all, who helped with the build-out and the concept of the atmosphere? Was that y'all's?
So actually, when I was a pastor, there was a guy in the youth group, and he was just a teenager, and he and I would work on different projects together for conferences and stuff like that. And just, he was 15, 16 years old, went to NOCA here, but lived out in St. James Parish. And so we had some good work relationship just for fun on the side. And so I said, hey, man, would you be interested in doing our sign for us, because he's extremely talented with carving things with a knife. And so our sign out front was just handcrafted by him. I mean, just to the T, and it came out so nicely. I said, hey man, I know you've never done this before, but can you build the whole place for us? And because it was a shell, there was nothing in it, right?
And how old is he at this point?
He's 23 now.
Oh, okay.
And never done anything like it.
I'm picturing he's like still 16. I'm going, wow, that's trusting. Yeah.
Right.
Like even I noticed
you have to
the
pick
benches,
him up and drive him there.
Right.
The design of the booths that you sit at, it's creative, but it's nice craftsmanship, and I mean, I really notice stuff like that. Everybody may not walk into a place and be like, oh, I like the way that's designed, but people instantly can feel comfortable or not, and you feel very welcomed, and aesthetically it's just
So one of our
lovely.
Talking points in the beginning was we really want to make people feel a certain way, and the brick walls really helped that, of course, from the jump, but we wanted people to feel like they were welcome and that they could stay and that they could just be here, and soft wood does that. And we wanted this farmhouse industrial contrast going on too, where if people looked kind of eye level or head level, they would see this very farmhouse feel. But if you look up, we have an exposed hood system that's very big, and all of the conduit is exposed running down the wall, and all the AC ducts, we didn't paint those. We wanted it to feel, okay, there's a different thing going on in different parts of this restaurant. But ultimately, we built booths big enough for 6, so 3 on each side, which again, we wanted people to feel like they could spread out and stretch a little bit and just enjoy themselves. So yeah, his name's Sam Ray. He just a ton of pride, and he did an excellent job just building everything on site for several months.
Beautiful. I have one question too. Brews. Now, I went in with my 7-year-old, and we had chocolate milk out of the tap and fresh milk.
Yeah.
And it was delicious.
You have chocolate milk on tap?
Yes,
man.
Isn't that crazy? So I want to hear.
Does anyone else have that?
I don't
I've
know.
never
When
heard
you
that.
say brews,
Yeah.
I mean, I was not.
Yeah, everyone thinks beer. So brew, for coffee, that was our goal. We wanted to really focus on a specialty coffee, which we do, and really serve something that's really not just a simple cup of coffee. And so we said, if we call it coffee, it'll just be coffee, but something different. Could also draw this, maybe there's beer, and we really wanted to accentuate the fact that we were BYOB. We wanted to accentuate the fact that next door is one of the most, if not the most respected craft beer places in the city. And so we didn't want to come in and add more value to something that was already clearly there, but rather accentuate it. We originally, one of the very first things we talked about donuts was, dude, would it be killer if we could make our own chocolate milk and pour it out of a tap system? I mean, I don't know. It just seemed like it made sense. It's something I wanted to do when I was 9 years old. I didn't know it though, So, and I have kids.
So does it look like a beer tap?
Yeah.
Too?
Everyone comes in and says, people come straight up to the tap system.
How have I missed this? This is amazing.
Yeah, and they say, hey, I'll have a Bud Light. I'm like, dude, you have to go next door to grab that, but I can serve you chocolate milk if you want.
Nice.
So, and we do cold brew coffee there. We do our nitro cold brew coffee. We serve iced tea, water, whole milk, and then our homemade chocolate milk all on tap.
Can you expand on nitro? Because that's kind of unique for.
Yeah. We're definitely not the first people to do it. Maybe the first people in the city, but definitely not in the coffee industry. And we just wanted to really kind of do something fresh, do something different with coffee. It pours much like a Guinness, cascades as you pour it. It's got CO2 running through it, and so it's got forms a little 1-inch head at the top, and so people drink it without a lid, without a straw, without cream, without sugar, and it feels like they're drinking a beer. And that comment has come many, many times. That was our goal. We have a bar. We don't serve beer. Let's serve something that kind of feels like a beer at a bar. That makes maybe a 14-year-old feel a little cooler than what he actually is, right? So nitro cold brew has been a great item for us. People have taken to it. People who drink a lot of cream and sugar in their coffee oftentimes get none, and they say it's got a much smoother finish and a little bit more palatable.
No, wait, how many months in are you now?
3 months.
So in 3 months, you've introduced all these revolutions to the city, right? That are all going to be imitated. It's amazing. Now you're a religious guy. I know that.
Yeah.
I am too a little bit. So maybe you'll appreciate this. I predicted on the show. I had a prophecy. I predicted there was going to be a donut revolution.
Okay.
And our producer Grant mocked me and belittled me and abused me for months about this. But it was after we had Upper Nine Donuts in here, Michael Caine and all that, which are great donuts. And I said, this is what's going to happen next. I've seen a pattern. New Orleans never had any hamburgers till a few years ago. Now it's got great hamburgers. There are a lot of American staples that New Orleans has shunned, and now since the storm is embracing. And I knew it was coming. I didn't know it was going to be you, but I knew it was coming. I was positive of it. And then I had your Vietnamese coffee donut, and I knew it had been fulfilled. That
it
was
happened.
It changed me for the rest of my life. I'll never be the same again. So
I need to stick around this guy because what he says comes true. Nice.
So yeah, I mean, you really did take it up a notch, and I think Blue Dot and these other ones that are emerging. They were before you, I know too, but expanding now as well.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to see this is going to be a decent donut town now. And,
yeah,
you guys were the tipping point, I think.
It's been fun. It's just, what do we like as a food product, as a beverage? Why not put it in a donut?
Right.
And that's really the approach that we take on a daily basis. There's constantly things being created. We usually change around 4 or 5 of them per day. And Liz is definitely the brainstorm behind that, but it's just what's tasty. And Chris loves Vietnamese iced coffee, so we said maybe you could do that inside of a donut.
That's the best donut I ever had in my life, I think. I love that donut so much.
That's awesome.
But every time, I've been like 4 times, and every time I've been to your place, you've had different things. You've had at least one that you didn't have before.
Right.
Yeah, really neat. Is it time for your plus one? Why don't you introduce him to us?
Okay, so this is Ben McLeish as he's strolling on over. Ben McLeish, I met about a year ago, and it was a great connection that my wife and I actually sought out together just to, as we were coming back to the city. We lived in St. John Parish for several years, and I'm born and raised in Metairie. But we're just trying to get connected to people inside of the city and understand what's going on in it. And we didn't know Ben. We didn't know any of Ben's circle of influence or anyone around him. But we, through the internet, which is a nice deal, we came to find Ben. So we just spent some time with him, and he really had a profound impact on me in terms of what he's doing, why he came to the city, and his love for it, not being from here. I will tell all of you, if you want to escape the podcast or the room now, he is a Bulldogs fan from Georgia. So we did have one disagreement, but for the most part, we get along well. And so anyway, I just thought he would be interesting because one of the things that we really wanted to do, and we wanted to use business really only as a means to do what we wanted to do inside of the city in terms of really adding value to it and making a difference, making an impact. We have a lot of vision for some different things, but he represents well the same reasons and whys that he's around here in this city and what he wants to do. So I thought he would be just a great person to have on.
All right, well,
Thanks.
interestingly, I've known Ben since about the second day I got to New Orleans or something.
Yeah.
I think I met you January of '06.
Yeah.
So
How did y'all meet?
Ben joined our church, and boy, this is like a very religious program
Yeah,
today.
what's
This is
going on?
amazing. We're ganging up on you, Margo.
Unintentional.
No, I want to hear more. Like,
But so I was going to ask you to introduce yourself, but I don't know how you're going to do that. You're one of these Renaissance people that has. It depends on what you focus on.
Yeah.
He's got about 40 different hats he wears, but
so I've never met you, but can you tell me in one sentence or a
No.
few? Okay. What you're passionate about and why you're here in New Orleans, not on our show.
I think New Orleans sort of like just called me here. I mean, it was one of these things where it was inescapable, and I found myself here. And once I found myself here, I found myself in love with her, and no turning back. And the most panic I have is when a hurricane comes, thinking if it gets wiped out, where would I live?
Yeah.
I just have a panic attack about
Yeah.
not whether my house floods or not whether it's
Right.
where would I live if it wasn't New Orleans. And so it's a city people love or hate, and I love her. And I love my neighborhood, and I love my neighbors and the people there. And so I just feel like it's just this huge privilege to be able to live here and do what I get to do. And it's like if you ever dream of like, what's my dream job? And now I get to do it. It's amazing.
Great, wonderful. We're New Orleans is blessed to have passionate people like everyone sitting at this table. Grew up here, and I'm grateful to know that y'all have come here and chosen to make it your home and a better place and give to the city. So what are some of the projects you're working on currently?
Yeah. There's a few projects we're working on right now. One, we helped launch a charter school in our neighborhood called the Homer Plessy Community School. And so it's right now pre-K through second. We'll build to 8th grade. And so that's been quite a venture. I serve as the board president, and been quite 3 years in the making, 3 or 4 years in the making, and now we finally launched this past year. So doing that, helped 7 years ago launch a church in our neighborhood that was focused. I live in the St Roch neighborhood, and so our first event as a church, we had a murder happen in front of us, and that was sort of our initiation into the neighborhood. And then I helped start a nonprofit called St Roch CDC, and we do affordable housing and job training and small business development and things like that. So those are some of the things that we're going to launch a thrift store this summer to help try to make our venture a little more self-sustaining, to help fund our development corporation as we do jobs training and small business development, financial literacy, things like that. So,
wow, that's a lot. A lot of.
He's just skimming the surface too. We were just talking about the St. Roch market on the show about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
and I know you're heavily involved in that as well.
It's a hot topic right now. You know, several years ago, when St. Roch wasn't the next new cool neighborhood to move into, when it was the hood, myself and a few others went down and said, "You're City of New Orleans. You're going to invest in our neighborhood. You're going to bring this market back." And now finally it's nearing completion, and we're figuring out what's going to go in there. And so there's been a little bit of controversy, so trying to help navigate those waters and try to be a peacemaker in the midst of that. But hopefully we'll have a great vendor there soon, and be another shining star for the St. Roch neighborhood.
Ben, tell us just a little bit about the history of the St. Roch market. It's been, 120 years or something like that?
Yeah, it's one of the oldest markets in the city, probably in the nation. And it was in its last, right before the storm, it was sort of only like a third occupied, and it was a little po' boy shop. You could get some fresh fish there, but really what it's remembered for was when the llamas ran it. After it was just a city market, and there was a family from the neighborhood, they ran it, and you could get nutria there, you could get turtle there, you could get whatever there. And now there's a lot of people wanting it to be back what it was when they were children, this really great seafood market with exotic meats and things like that.
Right on St. Claude.
Right on St. Claude, right across
real
from the
visible,
Healing Center,
right.
right there. Yeah, they did a $3.7 million renovation on it, and it's beautiful. I mean, it's absolutely historic to the T, beautiful renovation. So we'll wait and see who the city pops in there. So, yeah.
So wait, I want to get back to when you said y'all met on the internet. I mean, I hate to be sassy, but it sounds like Match.com. Or something.
That's what it was.
No. Like,
isn't that how every relationship begins now?
How did that occur?
Yeah, I mean, just searching online to see what's going on in the city in regards to some local churches, and stumbled across St. Roch. And that was basically it. And so we pursued just a couple conversations with people in person. Met in his office. You probably were wondering why we were meeting with you, but just to really, honestly, just to get to know the city and people who are making a difference. What are they doing? Why are they doing it? What kind of people are in the city doing things like this? And so just simple as that.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Now, what is your background that inspired you to, besides come to the city and fall in love with it? A lot of those things take more than chutzpah to make happen. Do you have a background in nonprofits or business or?
As you mentioned, I'm a Bulldog, and I got my undergrad and graduate degree there. So I have an undergrad in social work and a master's in nonprofit management from the University of Georgia. And when I was there, I became a Christian when I was at school. And there's a guy who started Desire Street Ministries, which is in the 9th Ward. He came and spoke at the church that I was at, and I was like, hey, that's what I want to do. It was a sophomore in college, and I was like, that sounds about right. And so after I finished graduate school, I came and moved here to the city. I was living in the 9th Ward, working for Desire Street, and then the storm hit, and it all goes from there. But yeah, that really, I mean, honestly, I probably could say that I came like to help serve the city and do all these great things, but really, I'm the one that's benefited the most from being here. Just the truth. I mean, God has used the city and my neighbors and people of low means to just transform my life, and it's just something that I'm, eternally grateful for. I've just learned so much about my own dysfunction and my own issues by living here, and it's just been a really gracious place to work those things out.
While we're all choked up, maybe this is a good time to interrupt and make a few announcements again, as we've been asked to do. Yeah, so again, Monday night is High Night at Thrive. High Night is hospitality industry night. 50% off, 50% discount for anyone who is in the hospitality industry. So if you are a restaurant valet parker, an executive chef, a tour guide, a bartender, a waitress, you can come here, enjoy us as we tape our show, and enjoy some food at a 50% discount. We're at Grill on the Hill now on Magazine Street next to Monkey Hill Bar, just past Henry Clay in Uptown. So come on down Monday nights for High Night at Thrive and grab a drink from Monkey Hill and get off to a healthier start for your week. And also now, what?
Yeah, aren't we going to give away some fabulous tickets?
We are giving away tickets to one of the great events every year of the New Orleans social scene, and that is the Pussyfooter Blush Ball. And we have 2 free tickets for the first person who hears this and goes to our show's Midnight Menu Plus One website. That's at itsneworleans.com. Itsneworleans.com, and you email us, and the first person who does that will get 2 free tickets. But if you're not so lucky, there are additional tickets available for purchase at the Pussyfooter website, which I believe is pussyfooters.com, and also at the door.
Okay, great.
All right. We have donuts, don't we? Wow, I was so hoping you'd bring donuts.
Oh, man.
Oh, that's great.
What are these beautiful?
I feel sorry for anybody that's not at this table right now.
Yeah.
It's too bad this is on radio and not on TV.
Smell-o-vision or something? Yeah, taste-o-vision.
So we have a variety here, what we call our simple, fancy, and then we ran out of adjectives, so we called it extra fancy donuts. So simple tonight, we have the glazed donut, so just very basic. And for our fancy, we're doing a passion fruit with raspberry powder right here on top, and then also a little sprinkle of raspberry sauce as well. And then Boston cream would be our extra fancy, and Vietnamese iced coffee donut would also be our extra fancy for tonight.
Margo, I'm going to warn you, if you eat that donut, you'll never be the same again. So you're crossing a threshold. You're crossing the Rubicon if you go to this.
Yeah.
There's no turning back. It'll change you forever. Your life will never be the same. So pause and think about it, whether you're prepared for that donut.
Yeah. So Vietnamese iced coffee is a condensed milk pastry cream with black tapioca pearls inside, a coffee glaze.
It's like a bubble tea Vietnamese
style. Yeah, and then some candied chicory powder on top.
Wow.
So super delicious.
Genius.
So we're going to do some tastings right now?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I cannot look at these and not eat.
I'm gaining weight already just looking at them.
sour.
Yeah.
No, incidentally, all of our donuts are calorie-free.
Yeah, cool.
And so they'll be...
Atkins approved.
Yeah, they're actually healthy for you. So we're cutting away
High in
on the
vitamins.
glazed. Go ahead and dive in.
Wow.
Well, honestly, these are my second experience today eating your product.
Is that right?
Wow.
Did you have a donut earlier?
Yes.
Okay.
You should make that a habit. Go to this place
Twice
twice a
a day.
day, every day. See what happens.
And I had the texture is lovely too.
So fantastic. I hate
The
glazed donuts
plain-
in general, by the way.
the
I hate
plain
them.
glazed-
That's really good.
Yeah, it's much more than a glazed donut.
Yeah, don't think Dunkin' Donuts and Krispy Kreme here. This is like a
And
real
don't you
donut.
do with this donut some kind of sandwich too?
Yeah, we
glazed
do.
donut?
We call it a croque nut. And
what I
croque
had
we
today,
do,
too.
okay, which is super delicious. A Monsieur style, a Monty style, and then a Lena Rouge. The Monsieur and the Monty are a Newski ham base with Dijon mustard. We're doing Havarti cheese right now. One of those gets a raspberry preserve and powdered sugar. The other gets a bechamel. And the Lena Rouge is a guava cream cheese with turkey as the protein, and pickled red onions, and also some diced up Granny Smith apples.
That's what we.
How was that?
Fantastic.
Is it as good as it sounds?
Yes, and it's a lot of things to try. If it was divine.
Wow.
We got that one, and the one with the turkey and did you say
Lena
bechamel?
Rouge?
No.
The ham with the bechamel is that's the Monsieur style.
And we also got 3 donuts and milk, and it was all under $20.
And the milk tastes great.
It
on
was
tap.
enough
Better on
food
tap.
for 2 days worth of, and it was so reasonable and delicious. I'm very excited.
So and then we have the Boston cream here, and we also do a Nola cream, which we didn't have today, or I would have brought, and that's just our spin on it. It's a rum infused pastry cream, which is a lot of fun. And then of course the Vietnamese iced coffee donut.
I did not have a chance to taste it, but we also got the sriracha.
Maple sriracha with candy thyme.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah, we're running
My-
into a meltdown now because they're shutting the sriracha factories down over
Yeah.
on the West Coast.
NIMBYs.
Yeah,
They
what's
were
up with that?
destroying New Orleans, and they're destroying Sriracha too. You're not going to have any hot sauce left in the country because of 3 people don't like the awesome smell coming out of the plant.
Right.
Ben knows this. NIMBYs are the
Lots
end
of-
of
Do
the
you
world.
talk about
Yeah.
that at church? You have not.
Well, we don't go to the same church anymore,
Oh.
but yeah, I mean, all the time. Yeah, I mean,
Really?
yeah, Jesus cares about cities, and he
Yeah.
cares about New Orleans, I think, a lot more than most cities. And
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And NIMBYs are the opposite of what the Bible says about community. They're all about the individual. It's like, I don't care. I don't want this school here, this awesome A+ school, because for 5 minutes a day, I may have a little bit of trouble getting out of my driveway. So therefore, screw the whole city. We don't want our kids to get educated because I don't want my parking spot being disturbed, my public parking spot 5 minutes a day.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
You run into that even in St. Roch, right?
Oh yeah, well, especially now St. Roch's beginning to change a little bit. Property values going up. Yeah, folks move in, and a lot of that NIMBY begins to happen. Yep.
I don't know what y'all are talking about.
Not in my
NIMBY.
backyard.
Not in my
Yeah.
backyard.
For
Okay.
example, when I was president of the neighborhood association, I voted in favor
Are
of
you
this
gonna
place
get in
coming.
trouble?
I'm
I'm
going to
just
get
gonna-
already.
I'm
I know.
giving you-
Thanks
I'm
for
helping
saving
you
me.
out.
I know. Then I go back to Chris after the show. I go, can we cut that part out? Yeah. Let me just say this. Yeah, I voted for a restaurant coming 2 doors down for me, while there were other neighbors that were just going insane because it wasn't anything about the restaurant. It's just that it was a restaurant. They didn't want a restaurant two. And it's like, why do you live on Magazine Street then, you weirdo? What's the matter with you? All right, now I'm in trouble. I was okay till that last sentence.
You just crossed
Now
the
I just
threshold.
all right. But anyway, how do we go from like the glories of this donut to all this nastiness? That was really
Look, I don't drink coffee, so I'm going to have to try the nitro coffee to experience it. But that's great. It's not overwhelmingly coffee.
Right.
I think the chicory and what is this white in the
That's the condensed milk pastry
Condensed
cream,
milk.
and then
Okay.
black tapioca pearls.
the tapioca pearl.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
what is turn change?
Okay. Turn Change is our LLC, and just stands for Turn Profits, Change Lives. And so, really, again, just getting back to the why of what we do, and has a lot less to do with great donuts, great sliders, great coffee, and a whole lot more to do with making an impact in the neighborhoods that we live in, and if we're fortunate enough to expand, and how we can bring that value to where we go. So our original approach here was, hey man, if you could do with profits whatever you wanted to do with profits, what would you do with it? And we sat on that for a long time and just internally really worked through that. And because this country is such that it allows you to be profitable. And if you work hard and you have a great concept or you have a great idea and people take to it, the truth is you can make money. And what do you do with that money was really what we were talking about. And so we could come up with concepts. We felt good about being able to bring something to the table, but we wanted the why to be the most important thing for us. And so we came down with the idea that our profit would really be the purpose of it would just be to change lives. And so we kind of categorize that real simply. We don't have a mission statement, but we just we talk about family, friends, neighborhood, and nations. And just simply, if my wife and kids at home, if our family in terms of Turn Change is not about our personal family, but just as an example, if I work my guts out and I slave away for 100 hours a week and I don't know my family and they don't know me, what's the point? And so for us, we say anyone behind that bar, they're our family. And so we've got to make sure that we all buy into each other and we find ways to profit one another. We find ways to keep it, rather than a dysfunctional family, we're constantly looking to make it a healthy environment to work. Probably all of us at the table know what it's like to be inside of healthy and unhealthy relationships, healthy and unhealthy workspaces. And there's nothing worse than being in an environment that you would deem unhealthy and having to go back to it every single day. And the restaurant industry, if you know anything about it, people just turn and burn inside of the restaurant industry. And maybe they can make a quarter more somewhere else. Maybe they can make $1 more somewhere else. Maybe they just got yelled at, they got cursed out. And so our vision was, dude, how do we find ways to make this environment profitable for people, not just financially, but truly holistically? When they come and they're a part of it, they want to come back to work. For some people, we wanted work to be a shelter. We wanted it to be the kind of place where when they went home, it might have been rough, but they came here and they were made a little bit more human, a little bit more connected with what life is supposed to be about. So that was our first approach, family, friends. We don't call them customers. We don't call them guests. We try to say these are our friends. I've seen people come into our restaurant, and I try to smile every single time, and we tell our family, man, this place is a safe place for a lot of people. There's a 7-year-old kid who's starting a tradition with his dad, and they come every single Saturday morning, and they've been doing it for 3 months maybe, and they're going to do it for the next 3 years, and we need to find a way to let them know that this is our home. And so by well-lit establishment, by clean floors, by food that's consistently sanitary and served with excellence, with constant smiles, we wanted to have a place where it wasn't just, hey, you give me something, I give you something back, very disconnected, but we wanted it to be a space that was very personal. So we thought we could add profit to friends in that they came in and they felt recognized, they felt appreciated, they didn't feel like they were just someone to make me more profitable, but rather that they were valued as well. Neighborhood, anyone knows that if a good business comes to town, the neighborhood is excited. And if a bad business comes to town, the neighborhood is bummed. And we wanted to be the kind of place where no one knew us, but 6 months later or a year later, people were glad and happy that we were there. People wanted to work in the Garden District, maybe a little bit more than they did before. People wanted to dine. People wanted to live. And we're just a part of it. There's a lot, as you suggested earlier, that part of Magazine and Jackson, that whole area, there's a lot happening. We're not the cornerstone of it by any means, but we can add value to make that neighborhood a little bit more profitable for all who live, for all who dine, for all who visit. So we're constantly looking for ways to do that. And then lastly, nations, which is not necessarily something across an ocean or something like that, but rather people we've kind of talked about as being third parties. If you and I, if you give me $1 and I give you a donut, that's what we call in business a win-win, right? You win because you get what you paid for. I win because I made a product and now I get money because you bought that product, and we can keep on living life in a forward-moving way. We wanted to find people who couldn't reciprocate if we added value to them. We wanted to find a third party that really would center us, because the truth is if we profit our family, i.e. the people who work with us, the friends and the neighborhood, they'll give back, right? And we'll stay in business, and guess what? I can take care of my wife and 4 kids, and we can maybe buy a bigger house. And so you could say, well, hey man, that sounds noble, but that's going to really serve you well. We needed something, because we know ourselves well, to center us and to bring us back to this place of we're here really to serve people. That's my wife and I, that's our projection for our lives. I mean, we want to give ourselves to people, not just to find something in return, but to just be an added value to a neighborhood. And so we sought out a few different opportunities for us to really give profits away. And so we networked and found a food truck. And so this food truck that we're working with, all of the profits that we're going to gain from it, 100% of them, we're going to find ways to work through and give a third party all of that money. So
what's an example?
Yeah,
of a third
Crossroads
party?
NOLA is our first venture, and they're a foster care agency in the city.
All right.
And so once we get that food truck up and running at different events and in the community, that's going to be our expression of nations for us, and how we can turn profits, but in effect, we're changing lives. And so we believe that the most sustainable type of business is a business that's run with that type of focus. I now am coming out of I would say, as a young adult, coming out of understanding what happened in 2008 in our economy, I perceive a lot of that as being selfish people who wanted to make money at the expense of others not being able to really take care of what they needed to take care of after loans were given and mortgages were given. And then a lot of people feel the effects of that when they shouldn't. They saw the short-term gain, and the long-term loss was for someone else, not for them. And I think business is going in a different direction with the 20-somethings and 30-somethings, in that I'm just a part, but I think we are moving in a direction of finding ways to give profit to change lives. And so that's our goal in the city.
Aaron, that's so interesting, because, I mean, we have a lot of guests on, and I think a lot of restaurants in New Orleans get involved in charitable events. So they'll lend their time or their facilities or talents to an event and raise money for some kind of big project. But what you're talking about is a little different. You're talking about, as I understand it, something that's sort of an ongoing lifestyle of change and of city building and all that. And that's really exciting. I would think that would even benefit your all's business. Like you say, it's more sustainable. I mean, I want to pick your brain a little bit more about that and see what you think. To me, it's like, you have inevitable conflict with employees or suppliers or whoever. It's going to change the tone of the conversation, make it less adversarial maybe when you're known to be a business that's about more than just yourselves and more than just profit.
Yeah.
It's about serving. It seems like that changes the whole conversation when you're trying to resolve conflict. Do you think that's right or no?
Yeah, absolutely. I think people functioning in society with others' good in mind will absolutely change the way a conversation looks inside a business. I think that business is only a reflection of one's personhood. And if someone's found to be sour in business, it's just because somewhere in life they became sour as an individual. And so, again, I'll use the word holistic. Our approach really is to find ways to create a space to work, a space to connect for our family, and eventually for third parties, for nations, to really hope in some ways to not be the model, but to model something that makes sense, in that if my wife and I live a certain way in our personal lives, then why in the world would our business be any different?
Yeah.
And so if our business looks like that, then my lifestyle better line up with that. And people are attracted to thinking and being like that. They just don't think it's quote unquote legal in the business world, if you will, to do that. And so there has to be this strong hand and this, straight face, and, well, this is business, and I kind of got to let you know as you're my vendor, and if you don't. And so it gets a little bit cutthroat. And I'm not saying that all of that stuff needs to be pushed aside in terms of making sure that it is a win-win. As I said earlier, it does have to be a win-win. I think there are ways in which if my perception of you is human rather than vendor, then I find ways to continue this relationship to be sustainable, to be long-term, without being angry, without finding how can I lowball you even more, how can I make more money off of you, what can I do to give myself the advantage, what angle can I bring, and what pitch can I have toward you. So I do think for us, the reason it will be successful, if it's successful, is because it's who people are. People want to be that way. People want to connect with humans.
Yeah.
And I think...
Well, you've probably met people, people in your family who are friends or circles, acquaintances who are one way in their personal life, and that can be very kind people and generous people. And you look at the way their businesses run, and it's very cutthroat and very rough, and and people don't even see a problem with that disconnect. Like, they'll almost brag about it. I mean, I know people that have, that will talk about things that they do in their business practices that aren't illegal. They're just the way everybody does it, but it's rough. And you think, if you treated your neighbor that way, if you treated me that way, I wouldn't be your friend,
Yeah.
But it's just sort of like the air we breathe. We all just sort of do that. I think it's really interesting that you're trying to find a way to integrate who you are as a person in the way that your business operates, and not just do it that way because everybody else does it that way or whatever. And I think that can be an example for other people, don't you think, to emulate?
Yeah.
And I mean, guess what? New Orleans has never been a great business city, right? Right? New Orleans has invented all these things, never capitalized on them. Chicago got rich off of jazz. Ask your average jazz musician how well off they are. Things like that. And yet, it's what its strength has been. It's been the personalities of people. It's a city of great personalities. And so what you're talking about seems to be like a way forward in business too. That could be really fruitful, I think, for a place like New Orleans, where you have people that have these really great and actually generous personalities.
Sure.
Great generosity. We saw that with Katrina is unbelievable. I mean,
and I think the city is prime for has been recent for in the last several recent years.
All right, that's going to be my next prediction.
Yeah.
Okay, the donut revolution's over. The next one's going to be
Well, are
we're going to call this the Aaron Revolution.
But are you familiar? Like Tulane University there's been a big movement and change in their business program. I don't know if y'all are familiar with
I'm
that,
not.
but they millions of dollars have been put into the business school on the basis of it's all about socially conscious businesses. And I mean, y'all are going more in depth, and but I think that it's a sign of a generation of people that are conscious of the way things have been in the recent past, and they want to make a difference, and that it is possible to have a business that resonates with your personal life, and you can have a successful isn't just about money. And so I really, what y'all are doing is a great example and model for the city, but it's also, I believe, part of a movement that is not. It's happening in a lot of places, Tulane's enrollment has been up since Katrina because they have the students give back to the city. But now this new program, hundreds of kids are graduating with a different philosophy, and it's rooted here, but it's spreading out everywhere. And so
that's great.
I feel like when I grew up, it was like you critique capitalism for its obvious failings, and the answer was socialism or whatever, right? And it's like that's a false dichotomy. And I feel like there's isn't there a way to what you're talking about is sort of a generous capitalism. It doesn't have to be Rand, it doesn't have to be this sort of cutthroat. And it's better for the system if everybody's looking out for their own self-interest,
Right.
So tell me a little more, like, I haven't heard anything about this. I've been to your place 4 times. We got this food show. I feel like I'm involved in things in the city. I've never heard a word about any of this. So I know you're new, but is there a way that you're getting your message out about it without being self-promoting, although that wouldn't hurt, I guess, too, right? But, in a way that, just to share what you're doing. Because I think other businesses could benefit from what you're learning from this.
And people would want to support what you're doing besides just great products, but to be a part of that change.
I think I'm a big believer in the brand of trust. And so in order
by the way, no one else is eating this donut. What happened?
Dive in.
Is something wrong, Margo?
Dive in, man.
Really, I'm
no,
worried
I'm
about
just
you.
stuffed. Y'all have been talking.
All right.
I've been eating.
Keep going.
No, that's okay. So that's a good question, and we intentionally have not wanted to be so forward with other things because people, they need to learn to believe you in your building. Right. That's just the truth. If they come
and
once,
not see it as a gimmick too. You're not doing this
correct.
Right.
So if they come once and I'm friendly, and they come twice and I'm not, guess what? It doesn't matter what I'm going to say 6 months from now and what I'm going to roll out and what my intentions are. Right. They're going to say, this dude sometimes he's happy, sometimes he's not happy. If the people who work with and around us, our family, if they come in and see when Ashley, my wife, and my kids come in and all of a sudden I light up and they leave and I become sour again, their reputation in regards to me, they're going to tell their friends, this guy's not legit. They're doing this, but really, I'm telling you, when he's at work, this is how it is. So you've got to build from the inside out, and we're only 3 months in, and so we want to be the best inside of our 4 walls. Right. And if we're great inside of the 4 walls, I'm just a big believer that things will expand. Things that are meant to expand, that are meant to profit other people, that are meant to be advantageous for people who interact outside of those 4 walls, it will find a way and it will make it happen. So our initial thing is, let's be the best donut slider brew joint in the whole city. Let's make people believe in it. Let's make people go 5 times and say, every single time I come here, the product is the same. It's just as clean. Their attitude is the same. The happiness factor is there. Let's do that. And then eventually we're going to roll a streetcar on wheels out and as our food truck, and they're going to say, oh, that's that place, and they'll identify us. And then when those conversations, the dialogue begins to happen, this dialogue begins to happen without us having to promote that. Then if it's invited, we'll of course take that opportunity.
So it's organic. It sounds like you're working hard to create that environment in your establishment.
That's correct.
And then people will be like how you met your baker.
Yeah.
And it will occur organically and evolve.
Yeah, that's right.
That's great.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we are at the end of our
Are we really?
Yes.
I was thinking 20 minutes in. Are you kidding me?
I
that
know.
flew by.
Can we
Wow.
have y'all each say how we can find out more about the things that are going on? Some, some of your
Sure.
projects, Ben,
Absolutely.
and websites or any information.
Just to let you guys know,
Aaron.
Ray is eating every single last bit of every donut right now.
I've had 3.5 of the 4 donuts.
I'm gonna go ahead and be the prophet. I predict that he is gonna gain 3 pounds by the end of this show. And I think,
happened, yeah.
it's factual. His button hit me in my eye just now.
For things in the St Roch neighborhood, our website, strochcdc.org, and Rock is ROCH, not ROCK. That's a great place for the Plessy School, plessyschool.org. It's another great place. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, all those good social media places also. But yeah, or you can always stop by 1738 St Roch Avenue. Starting a thrift store. Eventually, we're not sure of the location, but you could always drop clothing and stuff off at 1738 St Roch Avenue. It'd be a great way to
Wonderful.
connect with us.
Will y'all take books too?
Absolutely.
Okay, children's books. And
Absolutely. Yes, please.
It's great. Donutsandsliders.com would be our website. At District Donuts, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and then of course Facebook. We have a District Donuts Sliders Brew, and then 2209 Magazine. It's on the corner of Magazine and Jackson, just next to Stein's Deli, and that's pretty much where you can find us.
And will you tell everyone your hours too?
7 days a week, Sunday through Thursday, 7 a.m. till 9 p.m. Friday and Saturday, 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. Serving draft chocolate milk all day, every day.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What a delight.
Thank you for having us.
Once again, Monday nights is the High Night at Thrive. High Night is hospitality industry night, and any hospitality workers will get a 50% discount. They come by to hear us recording our show on Monday nights at 7:30 to 9 o'clock at Grill on the Hill, right next to Monkey Hill Bar, right near Henry Clay on Magazine in Uptown New Orleans. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
You know Labor Day signals the unofficial end of summer, but not the end of your outdoor projects. Lowe's helps you do it right and helps you save with Labor Day deals throughout the store. Shop now and get 2 bags of Stay Green potty mix for $12. And keep your lawn looking neat and trim with a Craftsman 2-cycle 17-inch gas string trimmer, now $20 off at just $119. Whatever's still on your to-do list this Labor Day, do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. Offers valid through 8/28. Soil offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii, U.S. only.